What's up, guys at MD? This is IFBB Pro Guy Cisternino. For those of you who don't know me, I won my IFBB Pro card at the 2008 Nationals, which was held in Atlanta, Georgia, where I won my class as a middleweight. This is my first workout with MD in probably over a year since I turned pro. And today we're going to take you through a basic leg workout, which I do on a weekly basis. I've had a lot of questions on the boards, why I took a year off competing. I have to pretty much say that, based on my experience and seeing the guys out there who compete now as pros in the open class, and also the ones that compete at the 202, which is the class that I'll be in, those guys are a lot more thicker, a lot more densely, heavily developed muscles than I have. 27 is my age currently. I'll be turning 28 in March. So when I won my pro card back in November, I thought it'd be a good idea for me to take about a year, anywhere from a year actually to 2 years off, depending upon how my body was reacting to my new off season, my new nutritionist. I got, for those of you who don't know, I started working with Neil Hill, who's based out of the UK in Wales, who also helped one of the top 202 competitors, Flex Lewis, and recently just helped Zach Khan win the British Nationals and earn his pro card. And again, I took a year off is because I felt as a competitor, you're only as good as your last competition. So, obviously taking first place victory at the Nationals in 2008 was a high point for me, and I wanted to go off that high point, and my next show that I do decide to compete in, I want to be better than I was at the 2008 Nationals, and for me to do that, I need to put on a decent amount of size and bring the same conditioning that I brought to the competitive stage in 2008. So that's pretty much my game plan. Not sure exactly what I'm going to do this year. I'm going to sit down with my nutritionist in March, and we're going to kind of map out a game plan, whether or not I'm comfortable with competing in 2010. He leaves a lot of decisions up to me. He thought I was capable of competing this year. I told him I really, didn't feel comfortable with stepping on the pro stage yet. And one thing with Neil is that he's very open to, ideas, and he wants to hear my opinions on things. So his big thing is, whenever I feel comfortable and I feel ready is when I can step on stage and compete again. So once March comes, which will be about, 20 or so weeks out from the Europa, which is being held in Hartford, Connecticut, that's, the show I might do, depending upon how I feel and how I look come March, which is in about 3 months. This leg workout that I'm doing today, I'm actually training with a good friend of mine, Joe Petrozzilli, who I've trained legs with before, and I knew, him training legs with me today, we'd get a pretty sick workout in. The workout that I'm doing today was actually developed by my nutritionist, Neil Hill. Neil actually is the first nutritionist who I ever allowed to do any of my training and tell me how to train. Most of my knowledge that I have now throughout my training, I've gotten through, personal knowledge, reading, other competitor bodybuilders. I've never really had a nutritionist tell me how to train, what to do, what rep range, how heavy. I've trained with a lot of, great guys throughout my year as an amateur and as a pro. I mean, when I first started competing, when I lived in Connecticut, I started competing with started working out with PJ Braun for years, and I still catch a workout with him every once in a while. Me living in New Jersey, him living in Connecticut. I learned a good amount from Evan Centopani too, where I would go up to Gold's New Haven and train, when I'm dieting for a show, and we always try to catch a workout in. So, I mean, there are a ton of guys that I train with and get knowledge from, but Neil, asked me if, I would be willing to let him, guide me through my workouts. And, I was skeptical because I was always nervous about letting somebody telling me what to do and how to do it as far as training goes. So, he said, just trust me and I'm going to send you your workout. So his workout, it's called YK3 training. What it is it's broken out into 3 different weeks of training. Week 1 is pretty much your basic compound movements. That's why, you won't see me do a ton of sets today. They're pretty much compound movements, as heavy as you can go, 8 to 10, with as much weight as I possibly can handle. So that's week 1, and that's not just for legs. That's for the entire week, whatever I'm training. Week 2 is kind of based off the same principles. The sets are actually increased a little bit, and my rep range actually goes up from 8 to 10. They go up to about 12 to 14 or 12 to 16. And then Week 3 is where he really incorporates his Y3K training in, which is pretty much where you do compound movement, such as like a leg press, supersetted with a isolation movement, which would be, for example, extensions. Or if I'm doing back, I will superset, bent over rows with the isolation movement, like seated close grip cable rows. So, I mean, that's his basic principles. And I've been doing that since I started working with Neil. It's probably been close to a year. It's probably been about 8 or 9 months I've been working with Neil. So we're pushing about a year now. So, so far the gains that I've gotten from working with Neil and his diet and his training theories have really helped me. So I have to give a lot of credit to him and all his help thus far. Neil's nutrition theories, are pretty different than what I'm used to. I followed many different diets since I've been competing in 2003. I followed high carb days where, they were high, moderate, and low, where, they cycled the carbs. I also followed low fat, moderate carb, high protein diets. I've done the keto diet, which everybody knows. I know there's a lot of, controversy on the keto diet. Neil's theories are very different than what I'm used to. He actually has a lot of theories that I had when I was in college. And he actually has me eating a lot of food that I was used to eating in college that I actually stopped eating because I thought they were bad for me. He switches around my protein, 8 times a day. With 8 of those meals, 4 of them actually have fruit in them. And, when he first gave me the diet, him living in the UK, it's kind of hard for me to, talk to him on a daily basis. I text him, if I have questions and stuff like that. But when he first sent me the diet, I did it for about a week until I talked to him. And then I was like, man, I always had trouble eating my food when I was in the off season. Like after a competition, you could always get all your meals in. But after, about 4 or 5 months after a show, it was always rough. If I was supposed to eat 8 meals a day, I would be getting 5, 6 meals in, always missing 2 meals. And when I finally talked to Neil, I said, Neil, I'm eating all my meals. And I said, I'm actually hungry even after I eat. I said, I have never been like that. I said, is it because of the fruit, affecting the insulin levels? And he said, absolutely. He said, the fruit, what it's doing is it's getting into your bloodstream and it's spiking your insulin level. He goes, and when your insulin level drops about an hour, or hour and a half later, he goes, you're obviously going to get hungry again, just like you would as, a diabetic would. I'm eating a lot of fruit. People ask me all the time what my meals are. They're very complex. My first meal is, has protein in it. I have yogurt, berries, bananas, oatmeal. I'm eating Ezekiel bread. I'm eating cottage cheese, a whole pint of cottage cheese for one of my meals, which I used to do all the time in college. As my last meal, but he doesn't have me doing it as the last meal. It's during the day. He actually has me, which he pushes on me all the time because I do forget to do it once in a while, is that he tells me that, obviously as a bodybuilder, anybody who's trying to put on muscle, the optimum time for growth is when you're recovering, so which is obviously when you're sleeping. So he makes me set an alarm and wake up midnight around 3 o'clock in the morning and have 25 grams of a slow digesting protein, which I do take 90% of the time. Sometimes I just don't get up. Normally if I'm dieting, I wake up a bunch of times, to piss. But now I try to get up as much as I can throughout the week and have that 25 grams. And he said that 25 grams of protein that you wake up and you have when you're sleeping, he said that's going to help you more than anything that any other food or any other meals or any training that you do. He said that 25 grams is going to keep you from recovering, keep you growing in your sleep. So in retrospect, what I would like to do, looking back, I was very pleased with my condition at the 2008 Nationals. I was definitely one of the most conditioned guys at the show. Stepping on stage as a pro, there are things that have to be done, and I feel I have to be a lot fuller to step on stage and be competitive as a pro competitor. So one of the things I talked to Neil about was obviously, wanting to be full on stage, wanting to be able to catch a carb up when I carb up, because I've had trouble in the past trying to catch a carb up. And also one of the things, as far as body parts are concerned, I don't have the best genetics. I've been, told that many times, and I know there are many, body parts that I need to bring up to be competitive on the stage. And I've talked to Neil about bringing up my arms. As a 202 competitor, there's the structures on them are very different than I think those of as an open competitor. Open competitors are obviously, they're just massive. The 202 competitors, they're very dense, thick, heavily muscled guys. I told Neil, I said, I got to focus on bringing my arms up. I have to focus on getting my shoulders bigger and having a rounder cap to my shoulders, and I need more back thickness and density. So hopefully if we can, find the formula to put that together in 2010 and bring the condition I had at the 2008 Nationals along with a fuller, more dense look, I hopefully will be able to be a contender at any show I enter as a 202 competitor. Hopefully next year this year is going to be the year that I hopefully make my pro debut, depending upon how March turns out and how I look come March. One of the biggest difficulties that I'm finding now, being a professional athlete, is sponsored by an endorsement contract from a supplement company. A lot of people ask, you're still sponsored, do you have a sponsor? So for, those of you who've asked me, who I'm sponsored by, I don't have a sponsorship. And the problem with not having a sponsorship is just being endorsed, going into a show and, having the, financial backing as a professional athlete, because, a lot of I think I mentioned this the last time Greg Valentino interviewed me, was at back in March 2009, the company I was working for closed down all their offices throughout the U.S., so I actually lost my job. So since then, I've been trying to, I've taken my test to become a teacher in social studies in high school. I've taken it 2 times, and I haven't passed it. I missed by 10 points each time. So I signed up for that again in March, hopefully to pass that, which is going to be, obviously another deciding factor on, what happens as far as competing this year. And along with that, I also do finance. I'm still doing mortgages on the side with another company out of Denville, New Jersey. We can lend in all different states. So, I talk to people every day from Connecticut, Pennsylvania, Florida, California, New Jersey. So along with that, I'm still personal training in New Jersey. I travel a lot throughout the week. I have a couple of clients that I meet 4 or 5 times a week, and I train them. And along with that, which is you guys will see come part 2 of this video, I brought Robbie to my house where we have a butcher shop. I'm not sure if any of you guys know whoever, I don't think I've ever mentioned it, but I've been a butcher by trade since I was about 10 years old. My dad was a butcher for over 40 years, and he brought that trade into, obviously our house, and we butcher during deer season. So I've been butchering since I was 10. I butchered anything from deer, boar, bear, elk, reindeer, and I was talking to Robbie this week on the phone, and I said, I've seen, Branch doing the hunting videos, and, I saw Evan's video with, when he went to the fish market, and the guy was describing all the different types of fish, and, I was telling Robbie, I said, what's interesting is that there's so many different cuts of meat out there. Everybody says, what's the best protein to eat? What's the leanest cut? So, Robbie came over, and we did a video shoot of, filming me butchering a deer. And I know you guys are saying, well, that's deer, it's not a cow, it's not beef. But in retrospect, it's the same exact thing. If I were to butcher a deer or a cow, the cuts of meat are the same, and whichever part is leaner on a cow is going to be leaner on venison, which is deer meat. So this clip, after this, will the one with me training arms and butchering the deer will be aired sometimes next week. So until next week, talk to you guys later. Take care.